of the first report, general report. Then you have here special thematic report on biodiversity issues, and just a leaflet on the observatory. So please get a copy if you want to do so. I am now calling our panelists. So Nick Davidson, or perhaps as you wish, or if you want to come here. So Nick Davidson, Vahe Majoub, and Mohamed Rimi will give their views on this observatory. What are the points, the limitations? What are the views for the future developments and collaboration with other parts of the world? So Nick, if you want to go on.
Thank you. This is a lot easier than trying to speak in one of those pavilions downstairs. So I hope you can hear me. Well, thank you very much, Jean and Thomas. I think that's given us a very good overview in a very simple, clear way, and that's something very important, communication, simply and clearly, to people who don't always understand reading deep scientific papers about protected wetlands. And that, I think, has been one of the keys of what I see as huge success already in a very short time for the observatory. As you've just seen, this crazy idea to try and do something that many have attempted before but never really managed to make work, to pull together this wealth of information against a whole series of different indicators and actually tell some clear stories out of it. Often when the sources of information, as Thomas has said, are quite patchy, then that should never deter anybody from using that information. And I think, for me, the Medway Observatory and the Mediterranean Wetland Outlook approach, we recognise in Ramsar as a pilot regional model, a test of developing these sort of mechanisms, not just reporting on what has happened, what the trends are in biodiversity, but the patterns of why they've happened and what the implications are for the future. As a pilot exercise for a bigger initiative, which we'll also be discussing during this week, something that the Ramsar Convention and our parties have identified as a top priority for our future scientific and technical work, developing the convention. That's developing what we're calling a GWOS, everybody likes acronyms, a Global Wetland Observing System, designed to try and improve access and understanding of what is hugely scattered information about wetlands, their status, their trends, the services they provide, and to serve that up in such a way as it can be used by a wide range of bodies, organisations and people for all sorts of purposes, including for the convention, a periodic reporting on the state of the world's wetlands and global wetland outlook, if you like, very much modelled on the way in which Turi Vala has been working on the Mediterranean system. So your experience of developing this is hugely valuable and transferable to other parts of the world at a regional or national scale, but also globally to help us all understand how best to develop up and roll out these sort of messages. And I've not seen the film before, so congratulations. I think that is wonderful and really hits home as to what the issues are. There's a number of related initiatives going on. Again, an observatory and serving up an outlook like this periodically, as you saw with at the end of the film, the number of different contributing bodies and organisations. It's not an easy challenge to engage and pull together and coordinate with such a wide range of bodies, all of whom have valuable data and information, and to persuade them and encourage them to contribute and show that they will see benefit back out of the value added of pulling all the information together, hopefully to help them in their own work and set that in context more. It's not an easy task. Those nice little graphs you see on some of the presentations, there's a huge amount of work behind those. The observatory and the preparation of the outlook also is being linked with the European Space Agency's support for Ramsar and Medway. And currently a project which some of you may be aware of called GLOBWET 2, that was a GLOBWET 1, and that is using Earth observation, remote sensing techniques to bring those down into site and into country level, including training and capacity building for handling this satellite imagery at national and local level. And as part of the GLOBWET 2 work, they are looking at the Landsat imagery that dates back from 1975 periodically onwards for about 200 separate wetlands around the North African and East Mediterranean coasts to try and look at patterns of the overall longer-term trend. And this also is a pilot to demonstrate that this can be done and can yield really invaluable insights, and we hope will be highly transferable to other parts of the world as well, so we can start to build this clearer picture of what has been happening to wetlands to inform what those trajectories may be in the future, as the film said, and help decision makers see more clearly the picture. What that is telling us is perhaps not unexpected from the Blonde Wetland 2 work, but there has been, in many wetlands around the Mediterranean, and I'm sure in many other parts of the world, a two-stage process of the loss of ecosystems and ecosystem services. The first is the conversion of wetlands, natural wetlands, into croplands, into agricultural systems, production systems. Now that in itself does not mean we have lost all the ecosystem services from a wetland. It just means we have shifted the balance of the services that that piece of land delivers from what is often multiple different services regulating, supporting, provisioning, to a focus on what we call provisioning services, food production, which in itself has a value, but a different value. But then subsequently, the loss of that agricultural production land to increasing spread of urbanization. And I think that is a story that is going to emerge more and more strongly. You've heard it already here. So in relation to the Midwest Observatory and what it's done so far, I think Dr. Ramsar is hugely impressed with it. We're very appreciative of the amount of efforts that Tour de Valor and Medwet have put into this to show it can be done. Just to also flag up one other initiative that's currently underway and will be launched at the CBD COP in Hyderabad next month, and that is a further piece of work by the TEEB, the Economics of Ecosystems and Biodiversity Group, who Ramsar has invited to prepare what we're calling a wetlands and water synthesis report on the economics of water and wetlands, to help put into our and decision makers' hands the best available information about what the values are, what the implications of inaction are for the delivery of services longer term for sustainability. That report, review draft, was actually issued and circulated overnight last night, and that will go through a review process, and we will aim to launch it next month in the CBD COP11. So watch this space for that. There's some good stories and important messages in that as well. The economics, not just the monetary value, but the non-monetary values as well of wetlands. And there are some powerful messages in that, where if you look comparatively at different types of wetlands, both coastal and inland wetlands, comparatively in terms of the range of values that have been recorded for them compared to grasslands, tropical forests, temperate forests, most types of wetlands have far higher by orders of magnitude values of the services they deliver than many other ecosystems. But that is not understood, not well known. As we've heard, wetlands are low on the agenda politically by decision makers. So this is helping us to get those stories out. Key messages in the Medwet approach. Well, I think, as you see, work with what you can get. Find as many different partners who have information that can help you and engage them. And even if you've got gappy data, be imaginative at using it and looking for the stories that will have resonance to tell to people. And some of the indicators that Medwet have developed are very quite innovative in terms of how you've handled existing data and told different stories out there. And that's always a key message, I think. Test of its utility, well, I guess the Mediterranean Outlook has only recently been introduced. I think it was last year? This year. I guess the test is now how well that is taken up by decision makers in Medwet countries. And perhaps another indicator that needs developing in the system is to assess, has this been used? Has it been useful? Has it been successful in raising awareness and perhaps changing the patterns of decisions in dealing with sustainable water management and land use? And of course we also have, as Joel mentioned, the IPBES or the IPBES developing. It's now being created. It's had 2 plenaries, but apparently plenaries for the IPBES, and we now have a first plenary of the IPBES early next year, where it will start developing its modalities and work plans. We're not yet sure how that will work in relation to the sort of thing we've seen today. Will it look to processes like the Medway Observatory as its source of information to do other assessments, or will it essentially take on the sort of roles that we've been demonstrating through Medway for a global wetland observing system? We just don't know yet. But demonstrating how some of these compilations and assessments can be done, and then with key messages back to decision makers that Medway has done, I think will help the IPBES process in its thinking as well. So keep going, guys. Very impressive, much appreciated by Ramsar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nick, for your views and presentation. I know you have another commitment and you have to leave
Somehow I'm double booked this afternoon.
Yes, in a few minutes.
Yep.
So perhaps, I don't know if you have enough time to listen to the two other speakers, and after what we can have a round of questions and probably some is it okay? Oh, okay, thank you. So now I would like to give the floor to Maher Mahjoub, who will give us his view on this device.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. My name is Maher Mahjoub. I'm working in the IUCN Mediterranean Center based in Malaga in Spain. I'm in charge of implementing the North Africa program. I would like to thank, first of all, Tours Vala and the Mediterranean Wetlands Observatory for inviting IUCN Med to be part of this workshop and to show the level of collaboration between IUCN Med and the observatory in using some key data that are generated by the IUCN Red. So for this, I would like to begin my presentation by reminding a little bit what is the IUCN Red List for. I know that most of you know this very efficient tool that is produced by IUCN continuously, but I think it's very important to remind at every opportunity that we have. So the IUCN Red List is more than just a list of names and threat categories. It is a tool to assess species global risk of extinction and monitor that risk over time. Each species on the red list is cataloged with information on population size and trends, distribution, ecology, and habitat preference, how it is used by people, ecosystem services, threats, and at the final level, recommends suitable conservation actions to be run by the countries. These species assessments are generated through the best available knowledge from thousands of the world's scientists belonging to the IUCN Commission and is checked through a review process to ensure top quality of this information. The objective of the IUCN Red List is mainly to provide information and analysis of the status, trends, and threats to species in order to inform and catalyze action for biodiversity conservation. Up to now, around 3,000 species were assessed at the Mediterranean, among them belonging to 11 taxonomic groups. These are the list in front of you. It's around 700 species among the aquatic plants, 450 species marine fishes, and so on and so forth. So these data generated through the IUCN Red List have been captured and used by the Mediterranean Observatory Wetland, and it allowed this institution to assess the status of conservation and risk of extinction of diverse taxonomic groups that are linked to the Mediterranean wetlands. So this is now comes the added value of the observatory that is focusing mainly on the wetlands ecosystems. So as you see in this graph, so this data has allowed the observatory, for example, to confirm but the more threatened groups within the Mediterranean are not the birds, as everybody would see. So they are mainly the molluscs, the freshwater molluscs and fishes. So you have here the percentage. For example, it's 48% of the species that are globally threatened with extinction. So 48% of them exist in the Mediterranean wetlands. So this graph is one of the important data that are generated and used by the Mediterranean Wetlands Observatory. More than this information can be also analyzed more and more to extract the sources of threats and pressure that exists on the species. And among the principal pressure, as you can see, pollution and the overuse of surface water that are among the pressure that are contributing to threatening more and more species within the Mediterranean ecosystem. So this is not the end of the story. This is a brief example of how the Mediterranean Observatory Wetland is using the data that are generated through the IUCN Red List to make spatial analysis and generate new data related to the ecosystem of wetland in the Mediterranean. This is very useful, I think, and this is the added value of such institution in the Mediterranean. Our collaboration with the observatory will continue and will be strengthened more and more through the establishment of platform. This is our future project that we have started recently. So we would like to put in place a platform for monitoring not the biodiversity itself, but the status of the Mediterranean biodiversity. We have started this project quite a few months ago. It is still in the elaboration of a project document and the gathering of data of the diagnostic process. So I think that we are looking forward to work together more closely on this project to see how this data could be evaluated more efficient, and as Jean said in his presentation, could be used in policy making and decision making to take the suitable decision. So this is a brief presentation that I have to present this opportunity. I'll be happy to contribute after talk with more information during the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maher. So it's clear that the link between the observatory and the IUCN Mediterranean program is both input and output. I mean, we get data from the Red List and they're taken by the IUCN News Center to build our indicators, and this sectoral work on wetlands is used back by IUCN in a more broader way for this biodiversity platform, including wetland, but also other biomes data. So this is the kind of two-way relationship we enjoy very much. Now I would like to give the floor to Mohamed Rini, who is both in a position of being a partner, but also a user of the results of the observatory. So it's in this perspective that Mohamed will talk to us.
Number 96, je crois. 396. Non, 402. Pardon, 402. The last one. Ok.
Je m'excuse, je vais forcer un peu la langue de cet atelier et parler en français, mais je vais le faire de temps en temps en anglais. Et c'est aussi une caractéristique méditerranéenne, c'est la diversité au niveau des langues. Hein. Il n'y a pas que la biodiversité qui est riche, mais c'est aussi les langages. Et donc je m'excuse auprès des collègues et amis anglophones, mais vous allez voir, c'est très simple à comprendre, il n'y a pas beaucoup de textes, et si je peux dire, les termes, les mots sont déjà connus, donc il n'y aura pas de problème à comprendre. Et comme disait Jean, bon, je me présente, je suis Mohamed Ribi, je m'occupe des aires protégées au Maroc, et je représente le département ministériel qui s'appelle le Haut Commissariat aux eaux et forêts, et qui est le département qui est en charge de la gestion des aires protégées, et également le point focal de la Convention Ramsar et de Medouet, et un partenaire de la Tour du Vala depuis très longtemps, un partenaire de l'UCN Met. Et donc, comme disait Jean, ce que je vais dire là, je vais le dire comme sous forme de témoignage d'un utilisateur, as a user of results of this observatory.